The forest is like a profound and mysterious book. Even after a lifetime study, we cannot completely decipher it from end to end. In this forest, a shadow roams. It has crossed over 10,000 years of primeval time, yet did not leave any trace in Aboriginal mythology. Alone, it flies across many peaks and streams, leaving the world behind. In the sky, the soaring shadow wings its way over the rising winds and scudding clouds with ease and remains a riddle, a legend. It is the phantom of the forest, the Black Knight. What power can a dream impart to the dreamer? For a long, long time, the raptor researcher Lin Wan-hong has ventured into the forest over and over again. After years of searching, he finally found his first black eagle nest in 2008. It took him 14 years to fulfill that dream.
I have always been drawn to raptors since childhood. For years, I've tried to understand this group of unusual birds. They have cast a spell on me that I cannot explain.
Wan-hong grew up in Bangka, and as a child, often saw kites flying over the Danshui River. Those snapshots were deeply branded onto his young heart. From then on, this memory has continually led him in search of raptors.
In 1980, I had just graduated from high school. I went on a trip to Xitou and accidentally spotted a huge shadow flying over the treetops up on Mount Fenghuang. At that time, I didn't know what it was. For years, the riddle just sat in my heart, waiting to be answered.
What cast a spell on Wan-hong then was not only a rare bird facing extinction, but also the last resident bird to be discovered by Taiwanese ornithologists. Yet its tale had never been told.
I searched through a lot of information to find that it was not recorded in the publication until 1822. A Dutch ornithologist, Temminck, acquired a specimen of a huge black eagle from Java, Indonesia. He couldn't identify it, so he just described it as an eagle that looks like a kite. In 1935, Tetsukiji Kazano, a Japanese who worked in the Tainan Museum, acquired a specimen of an unknown raptor from Dabang Jiayi. 5 years later, another Japanese ornithologist, Dr. Yashimaru Yamashina, saw the specimen. He confirmed that it was a new species found in Japan's territory and named it Kazano's eagle.
However, with Japan's defeat at the end of World War II, the name Kazano's eagle disappeared, as fleeting as a mere glance of the wild eagle in the wind. In its place, the official Chinese name of black eagle, or lindiao, emerged. It means eagle of the forest. Even so, until 1980, people still knew very little about the bird. The only certain thing was that it was rare and facing an uncertain future. Drawn by fate, Wonhong embarked on a road less traveled. In February 1993, while working for the Chinese Wild Bird Federation, Wonhong was called to pick up an injured black eagle caught in a trap in Suao. After being treated by the vet, the eagle was handed over to Wonhong, and he continued to take care of it. The eagle could not be released back into the wild because its toes were maimed, and in the end, it was transferred to Taipei City Zoo. After caring for the eagle night and day for 5 months, Wonhong gained further insight into the black eagle and grew to love it more. In 1994, Wonhong took on a research project for the Chinese Wild Bird Federation and finally began ecological research on the black eagle. The research center he chose, Fushan Botanical Garden, was blessed with dense forests and clear running streams because of the high precipitation brought in by typhoons and the northeastern monsoon. With tall old trees, thick shrubs, plenty of epiphytes, standing or fallen dead wood everywhere, and new seedlings growing out of every nook and cranny. A multi-layered primary forest environment provided a rich habitat for plentiful wildlife. For those creatures which were lucky enough to be born here, it was their Shangri-La, their Mount Happiness. Above all the other creatures live a pair of black eagles. All year round, they preside over several square kilometers of territory. With their unique undulating flight, this pair of black eagles attracted Wonhong's attention. Intensely territorial, raptors declare their own realms with distinctive and characteristic flights. For example, the crested goshawk shakes its wings during flight. The black eagle undulates up and down like waves. Compared with other large raptors, the plumage of the black eagle appears to be exceptionally dark, hence the name. Here it stands out when placed side by side with the serpent eagle. It also has dark brown eyes, which appear deeper, again very different than the yellow eyes of the serpent eagle. In terms of its size, the black eagle has the longest wingspan out of the 8 resident raptors in Taiwan and a distinctive wing shape. The The primary fingers at the end of its wings are very long and widely splayed, which assist its slow, steady flight. These primary fingers function just like the horizontal slots between the wing and the wing flaps of an aircraft. When the aircraft is climbing, turbulence can easily occur above both wings and cause a stall. With the slots, air beneath the wings will be pulled above to help stabilize the flight. Even in bad weather with rain and fog, the black eagle can still easily glide slowly at low altitude, its huge body weaving with agility between the big trees, looking for prey in the canopy as it flies. This is a skill that no other raptors can master.
With a wingspan reaching 180 centimeters and a body weight only up to 1.6 kilograms, the black eagle is shaped like a perfect flying machine. At times, it can be a slow glider or a surveillance aircraft. Or in a split second, it can morph into a diving fighter jet.
In order to gain an in-depth understanding of how raptors are faring on the island, in 1994, Wenhong gathered many friends with the same interest and formed the Raptor Research Group of Taiwan, committed to long-term research on and for these beautiful creatures. Year after year, the group of raptor followers repeatedly returned to this valley just for the close encounters with the phantom passing over the forest. Yet no matter how many times they got close to the black eagle, they still knew very little about it. After all, how did it hunt to feed itself? And how did it breed to proliferate as a species? Confronted with these questions, Wenhong knew that the only way to unveil the mystery was to find the black eagle's nest. In spring 2008, fellow researchers observed for the first time the mating of two black eagles, indicating that the eagles were going to breed in this forest. The research group was elated. The question was, where would they choose to nest? To find the nest, Wenhong and his friends searched in the dense forest many times. But always without success. In the fog-shrouded forest, the long search was wrought with frustration and confusion, but their passion refused to be dampened. That day, leading a group of researchers, Wenhong pressed on with a strange premonition.
那边，那边，在那边，在那边，在那边。
呼叫文红，呼叫文红，有一只林雕从你们旁边飞起来了。
收到，收到，我们也看到了。
At that moment, as if permission was granted by nature, Wenhong found the black eagle's nest.
I saw a female eagle brooding quietly in the nest watching me, as if she had long been accustomed to my presence. I was just overwhelmed with emotion.
To witness a female eagle brooding was great news. However, this was not the first time Wenhong had seen it. He remembered an incident of 4 years previously and couldn't help but begin to worry. In the spring of 2004, 2 other members of the Raptor Research Group, Jiang Boren and Chen, also discovered a black eagle nest by accident in the dense forest of Mount Happiness. That was the first ever black eagle nest known to the Taiwanese scientific community. The nest was inside a rock ginger fern, which grew on a huge Zuiho Michaelis tree. Most birds of prey use the forks in tree trunks as the basis of their nests. Then they lay branches on top, but they are not skillful nest builders. Their nests made of thick branches with leaves might look very impressive, but they are not strong. In Taiwan's climate, which is prone to storms, an eagle nest can easily be destroyed overnight. The bezra, for example, often falls victim to such bad luck during its breeding season. The huge black eagle requires big enough forks in tree trunks to build its nest. A giant epiphyte that clutches tightly on a big tree not only can provide a big enough base, but also is much stronger than any nests built by raptors themselves. Giant epiphytes therefore have naturally become the black eagle's best choice for nesting sites. This is also the reason why the black eagle relies so much on old and mature natural forests that have these giant epiphytes. Large epiphytes are indicator species of the natural moist forest. Their new leaves often brighten up the dark, shady interior. Researchers once climbed up a rock ginger fern that grew on a Michaelis tree over 100 years old. The fern measured over 1 meter in diameter, could hold a man who weighed 70 kilograms, and was well concealed. Another reason why giant epiphytes are favored by the wary black eagle. Because of the topography and because it was well covered by trees and branches, researchers could not get close enough to observe this particular precious nest. With the help of modern electronic technology, the Raptor Research Group solved the problem. They installed a wireless transmitting camera by the nest and then conducted videotape observation from 400 meters away.
已经 OK 了，那个显塘那边有没有收到信号？报告一下吧。
有，收到了，旁边有鸟啊。
恭喜大家！
喝啤酒了。
只有翅膀比较短而已。
不聊在吃的吗？
Viewed from the ground, the nest was very well concealed. But if viewed from inside the nest, one could survey almost the entire valley of Mount Happiness. To understand the black eagle's diet, Wenhong tried collecting more data by analyzing regurgitated pellets. Birds cannot chew, and raptors swallow prey whole and then digest their food in the stomach. The indigestible parts are then regurgitated in the form of pellets. Wenhong placed a net under the big dead branch on which the pair of black eagles loved to perch and walked up the hill to collect their fresh pellets every day. After dissecting the pellets back in the office, he found out that the black eagle's diet consisted entirely of mammals and birds. Take this pellet, for instance. It contains a lot of spines, which came from the most commonly seen rodent in the low-altitude forests, the spinous country rat. The most interesting fact was that birds' eggshells were often present in the pellets, proving that the black eagle was a bird nest marauder specializing in preying on chicks or eggs. Whilst the eaglet was growing, it was not without its own natural enemies either. Big flocks of large-billed crows were a constant threat. But fortunately, the parent eagles always worked together to beat off the crows. But accidents still happen. The eaglet was growing well until something unexpected occurred. That day, the group member who was on duty monitoring the screen suddenly saw something completely shocking.
哎呀，不见了！到哪去了？
The eaglet was gone. Encountering such an emergency, the Raptor Research Group members gathered together immediately to mount a rescue mission. After 24 hours combing the forest, they still couldn't find any trace of the eaglet. What on earth had happened? The research group replayed the tape carefully and noticed that a group of Formosan macaques was the cause. It turned out that because Zuiho Michaelis fruits ripened in mid-June, a group of 30 to 40 Formosan macaques passed through the forest canopy, feeding on Michaelis fruits, and slowly approached the nest that day. In distress, the male black eagle swooped down from above, attempting to drive the macaques away. At first, the mob dispersed out of fear beneath the giant shadow. However, having the advantage of numbers and driven by their hunger for Michaelis fruits, the group of macaques finally climbed up to the eagle nest and were pressing closer and closer to the eaglet. The yet-to-be fully fledged eaglet had no choice but to jump out into thin air. But then, where was the eaglet? Was it safe? The research group was at a loss and didn't know what to do next. Wenhong looked up at the sky and suddenly an idea dawned on him.
The parent eagle must feel even more anxious than we are, and they surely can find the baby faster than us. If we track the parents, we'll find the baby.
Raptors have exceptionally keen eyesight, 8 times sharper than humans. Wenhong was convinced that no one could monitor the ground better than the parent black eagles. Wenhong's hypothesis was proved right. The male eagle first appeared and then flew in and out of a certain point on the hillside. Wenhong followed the trail of the male eagle, penetrated the forest, and finally found the eaglet standing all by itself a few hundred meters away from the nest. The eaglet was forced out of its nest by a mob of macaques 20 days earlier than normal departure time. Whilst it could barely fly, it managed to get on a perch by hopping and jumping, but couldn't help falling to the ground from time to time. Perched alone on a branch, it often called out as if to voice its helplessness. It was very difficult for the research group to witness all this without feeling torn. After a while, as the eaglet became harder and harder to track, the data collection work had come to an end. Members of the research group couldn't help feeling somewhat disappointed by the accident that had happened in 2004. This time, Wenhong was full of anticipation and hoped that history would not repeat itself. Luckily, the nest that Wenhong found in 2008 was in a location much easier to observe than the first one found 4 years previously. After 4 months of detailed recording, the mystery of the black eagle's life was finally unraveled. In springtime, forests in northern Taiwan are often shrouded by rain and fog. Just like the black eagle's mysterious life story, the episode of their mating also occurs quietly in the rainy season. In late April, a little chick covered in gray down emerges from the broken shell. Both parents become busier than ever, looking after the new arrival. It's now been discovered that black eagles don't breed annually. Even in the best circumstances, a pair will only breed every other year, and only one egg will be laid each time. Therefore, each black eagle grows up as the only child, cherished and cared for by both parents. Black eagles follow the system of male breadwinner and female housekeeper. Our female takes charge of the nest and looks after the eaglet with undivided attention, showing a tender side of raptors that has rarely been seen. The male spends most of the time hunting outside, carrying the burden of feeding all 3 members of the family. As soon as he catches any prey, he will return to the nest and pass it to the female for handling and feeding. Through this investigation, the research group now knows more about the hunting model of black eagles and how they interact with their environment. It is an early summer night. The forest is an active stage for many creatures. The flying squirrel gorges itself on the newly sprouted tender shoots on the tree. The female squirrel must have enough milk to nurse her newborn litter in the nest. The mountain scops owl that has remained silent for the past few months begins to sing again to the night sky, preparing to start a new family. After dawn, these nocturnal animals will go to sleep. During daytime, the squirrel takes the flying squirrel's place to enjoy the tender green shoots and gnaw on the tree bark. Together with those animals resting in the canopy during the day, these baby animals left in nests make up the black eagle's main diet. For most predators, it is not easy to find cleverly concealed prey in the dense foliage. The black eagle is not a strong hunter that needs to directly battle with its prey. Instead, over eons of time, it has evolved to become an assassin in the forest. It is highly skilled in flying and searching, and has thus carved itself a special niche in this intensely competitive ecosystem.
During the breeding season, the black eagle feeds its own baby with other animals' babies, just like the terrible tiger granny in the children's story or the gruesome phantom in the woods. However, the relationship between predator and prey is always what drives nature's food chain to function normally.
On the black eagle's menu, mammals include squirrels, flying squirrels, spinous country rats, and their young. Birds include mountain scops owls, gray tree pies, and various unknown chicks and eggs. Amongst all of these, young squirrels are black eagle's staple diet. During their 4-month breeding season, a black eagle family with a voracious appetite can consume over 300 squirrels, 80% of which are young ones. This just goes to show how important black eagles are at keeping the squirrel population under control. As our eaglet grows up each day, the male eagle brings back more and more live animals so that the eaglet can practice handling prey itself. Early July marks the end of the chick rearing period. To encourage the eaglet to practice flying, sometimes the parents will carry the prey and circle back and forth very low to entice it to step out for the first time. For millions of years, nature has provided enough to sustain all creatures so that the cycle of life will continue forever. However, as human developments keep advancing, the pristine forests essential for the black eagle's survival keep diminishing day by day. Since March, the male eagle has continuously hunted for 4 months to feed the whole family. Its once beautiful plumage is now tattered and torn. At the end of the breeding season, the demand for food is even greater. This day, in order to find more sources of food, the male eagle decides to fly further away to hunt. Looking down on the land from above, although Mount Happiness looks lush and verdant, as soon as we leave the region, we can see that the forested area is becoming less and less. The closer we are to humans, the more we lose in biodiversity.
Do we humans ever consider the needs of other creatures? Do we realize that the survival of the human race depends on the survival of other species?
Although raptors are superior predators, as we witness the hardship that the male eagle had to endure finding food, we sense how fragile this ecosystem has become under human influence. It is early autumn in Mount Happiness, and many new lives have begun in the valley. Although one of the mother squirrel's litters was snatched away whole by the black eagle, she still managed to bring up another litter successfully. Surviving juvenile flying squirrels are growing as well. High up, 3 black eagles soar together. Both parent eagles are accompanying their only offspring to brave the sky and survey the land. They have raised a healthy and strong young eagle, at the same time passing down their resilient spirit to the next generation. The young eagle cannot remain sheltered by its parents forever. Very soon, it will have to leave to find its own Mount Happiness. This ancestral rule has never been denied for millions of years. But how many natural forests are there still left in this once beautiful island for the possible continuity of happiness? The pair of black eagles cannot answer this question. All they can do is struggle to survive and breed, and hope that the young eagle, after it leaves, will be able to carry on the legend of the Black Knight. After searching for more than 10 years, Wen Hong finally found the phantom of the forest and bore witness to its unique role in the ecosystem and the huge impact of human activities on its survival. The forest remains a profound book that we still don't fully understand. But as we place ourselves in it, we realize that everything that passes us by is part of the network of nature. The presence of the black eagle symbolizes the need for primary forest to sustain life, and the forest's value as a space that can provide for the procreation of many lives. The alluring shadow that passes through the trees draws us into the forest. Maybe this black eagle is already the knight of its dominion, ready to create even more legendary stories.
I gaze at the phantom of the forest that is slowly disappearing. I know that the name Kazano's eagle is now long gone, but I believe that the black eagle's Chinese name, Lin Diao, will be passed down in Taiwan forever.